I'm going to show you in this video how to run ads for an e-commerce brand that just started out or is already pretty established on the marketplace. This video is going to be useful for both scenarios. So as you know, the e-commerce niche is climbing up over time. Since 2014, e-commerce niche is growing, and as you can see, this trend is not gonna stop soon. So how can we grow an e-commerce niche with ads with such high competition? If your business model is focusing only on selling one product, then you will find that you will struggle pretty much when it comes to scaling your brand. Because you see, when we have so much noise on the marketplace, your opponents, they can be willing to pay more to acquire that customer, and that instantly makes your work much harder. So now to win, you gotta think about two metrics. That is your average order value and your customer lifetime value. To increase these two metrics, you have to think about how you can upsell and cross-sell to your existing customers or to a stranger who is thinking of buying something from you. I talk a lot about those two metrics on my YouTube channel. I will make sure I will link those videos here. I highly recommend you to check those videos out, because imagine, I'm gonna give you just one example. If your average order value now is $50 and you have to pay, for example, $30 to get that customer, well, you don't have much profit. And especially now, the profit margins for e-commerce brands are pretty low. And if you can increase your average order value, you instantly will be able to pay more to get that customer, which will give you a high advantage against your opponents. It is much easier to increase your average order value. One of the simplest things you can do is to add an upsell after someone completed their purchase, because at that moment they are in that buying mode. A lot of people convert at that time because they already bought something from you, they trust you at that moment. And it's much harder to come up with better creatives or with better ad copies, and it's very rare to see that your cost to acquire that customer is gonna be stable for a long period of time. I said as an example that your cost might be $30, but you'll observe that cost is not gonna be stable for a long period of time because more and more competition is coming in. So you might complain about this, or you can implement these things to increase your average order value and to be able to afford to pay more to acquire that customer. E-commerce is literally two things only. It's all about traffic and conversions. You gotta get quality traffic to your website and then convert them. That's simply how it works. So let me break it down each part to make it a little bit more clear for you. First thing is a question that we have to answer. How can we bring quality traffic? This is the keyword, quality traffic to your website. Because can you actually get like thousands and thousands of people on your website, but they can be unqualified? You bet. That's why when you're running ads, do not make the mistake of selecting objectives like traffic or brand awareness if you want to get quality traffic to your website. If you select objectives like traffic, reach, brand awareness, all the other objectives besides conversions and catalog sales, what you'll observe is that you're gonna get a ton of people, your cost per click is gonna be very low, but the quality of that traffic, is gonna be so bad that even with retargeting, you'll not be able to convert them. Because in their history on that social media platform, they've never bought from ads. And yes, with conversions, your cost to get those people on your website is gonna be much higher, but you will get far more likely people who is going to convert. When it comes to audiences that you're going to target, I find that right now what is working much better is interest over lookalikes. So 2 years ago, or even 1 year ago before iOS 14 update, lookalikes audiences, they were very, very powerful. So what you were doing, you were creating some other audiences based on your custom audiences, such as your engagers, website visitors, and purchasers. But now, because those audiences, they are much more limited in terms of size, for Facebook ad algorithms, it's much harder to target quality people based on your custom audiences. With interest, on the other hand, I tend to see that Facebook ad algorithms are targeting people who are really interested in, usually they are targeting first low-hanging fruits with interest, which means that they're going after people who are like striving and they are looking right now to buy products like yours. Even if we are using conversion objective and we know that our cost to get people on your website is gonna be much higher, besides the return on ad spend, pay attention also to your cost per click. And a fun rule to keep in mind is make sure that your cost per click is around $1. Because picture this, if we have, let's say the cost per click now is $2 and you can reduce it by $1, and considering that your conversion rate is the same, well, right there, you might even double your amount of sales. And the solution to minimize your cost per click is simply by testing and diversifying your ad creatives. I am shocked how many brands, even now, they are still underestimating the power of testing the ad creatives. I look at their ad account when I make an audit for them, and I see that they are using the same ad creative for like months and even sometimes like almost 1 year, which to me is quite crazy because of course people will get bored of your ads. That's why you have to keep in mind that social media platforms, they are looking for fresh and new content. When you are testing constantly, you are literally giving a favor to the algorithms and they are giving you much love. Because if you have, let's say now only a carousel, well, your placements are limited right there. On the other hand, if you also have some videos, those can go to stories, and that is going to decrease your cost per 1,000 impressions. From my opinion, I believe that every metric is important. Of course, the most critical one is return on ad spend, because that is giving you that cash flow, so you can reinvest in your ads. But if your cost per 1,000 impressions is like $100, if your cost per click is $5, well, in that case, you are limiting yourself and you are not getting the full potential. All these, like kind of many people they call vanity metrics, they lead towards that return on ad spend. I can promise you that if you can lower those costs, that will lead to a higher return. Lowering those costs, like I said, it can be done by testing multiple ad creatives. But your ad copy doesn't need to be underestimated. Short ad copies will convert most of the time the best, even for luxurious brands. And that is happening because moving forward, our attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Now with TikTok, with Instagram Reels, we are scrolling in terms of like seconds. Our attention span back then were like maybe 3 seconds. Now you have literally 1 second to grab people's attention. And usually if you have a long form copy, and especially if you're selling like products that need to be shown more visually, well, no one is gonna read that. No one has time for that. I believe that ad copy is a complementary thing to your ad creative. Both aligned together will work very well. Now from traffic, we gotta look at our conversions. If you've done all the things that I just mentioned and they are done correctly, but you still see that your conversions are low, the core problem is not in your traffic, but in your conversion rate. So we have to solve that. And I believe that conversions are a little bit more important than traffic. And that is because traffic can be bought, can be taken, can be borrowed. So there are some shortcuts there, but with conversion rate, you have to literally test and test hundreds and hundreds of things until you get there. So it is much complicated, but it gives you a high outcome. Imagine your conversion rate is 1% at this moment for your e-commerce brand, which is kind of average. And now, what if you can improve it to 2% or even 3%? How that is going to affect your sales and how that is going to affect your entire business. And on top of it, you don't spend additional money for that. I highly recommend you paying attention to this more than your traffic. Because if you think that you solve your problems by adding more traffic to your website when your conversion rate is 0.5%, that is not gonna happen. Imagine that we have a bottle of water, which is your website. And let's say that at the bottom we have our filter. Well, if your conversion rate is 0.5%, that simply means that you are converting 1 person per 200 visitors. And if you're bringing more traffic, you're paying more and more for that traffic. Whereas imagine you are optimizing, you're tweaking a few things for your filters. Well, right there, you can double your sales. It's going to be much more cost effective. So I hope that this is clear enough, and I hope that you can see that it's much more cost effective. And in fact, I have a video on my YouTube channel where I talk about 9 e-commerce conversion rate optimization fundamentals. So there you will find out some of the basics, which is allowing you to have at least 1% for your conversion rate. That is the bare minimum. So make sure to check out that video. So to summarize this entire video, the only things that you have to pay attention to is your average order value, your customer lifetime value, and those two elements, your traffic and your conversions. That's it. And the problem is that if only one component is missing or it's not optimized properly, you'll always struggle getting sales. So what we do, we help e-commerce companies with those two components. We bring them quality traffic using social media advertising, and then we coach them on how to optimize their conversion rate. So if you are interested, ensure that you click on the link below to schedule your call now. And for now, I'm gonna wrap up this video and I will talk to you later.